Hi and welcome to David Kolb's Experiential Learning Theory, explained by myself, Howie, Ledsham and Godfrey. In the early 1970s, Kolb and Ron Fry developed the Experiential Learning Model, or the ELM, and it composed of four elements: concrete experience, observation and reflection on that experience, formation of abstract concepts based on that reflection, and testing new concepts. While VAK may have popularised learning styles, Kolb is credited with launching the learning styles movement in the early 70s as perhaps one of the best and most influential learning models developed. Experiential means learning or resulting from experience, while experimental means relating to or based on experiment. Kolb uses the term experiential as his theory is based more on reflection of experiences, while others use experimental when referencing experimental inquiry techniques. While you can start at any of the major themes listed on the screen, an understanding of learning styles is required. As previously quoted, Kolb states, learning is a process whereby knowledge is created through the transformation of experience. Knowledge results from a combination of grasping experience and transforming it. If we look at the model on the screen, starting on concrete experience, this is the feeling. Learning from specific experiences and relating to people and being sensitive to others' feelings. Reflective observation, or watching, is observing before making any judgment by viewing the environment from different perspectives. Abstract conceptualization, or thinking, is a logical analysis of ideas and acting upon intellectual understanding of a situation. An active experimentation, or the doing, is the ability to get things done by influencing people and events through action, and this includes taking risks. This theory rests on 6 assumptions. 1. It's a process and not an outcome. 2. It derives from experience. 3. Requires an individual to resolve opposed demands. 4. Is holistic and integrative. 5. Requires interplay between a person and the environment. And 6. Results in knowledge creation. It does not adequately consider the context of power relations such as social status and gender, fails to give ample status to the influence of these power differentials on learning, fails to focus on the here and now of experience, instead giving undue status to retrospective reflection, ignores unconscious learning processes and the defence mechanisms that may inhibit learning, and does not adequately propose a second order or higher mental learning process, such as questioning the assumptions of the learning process. So can this theory be seen when teaching ICT in schools? Well, yes, I think it can. Not only for the reasons on the screen regarding the pupils, but also from a teacher's perspective. Delivering a lesson, reflecting on that lesson, what went well, what didn't go so well, putting plans in place for the next time that lesson is delivered to improve it. And this is an ongoing process going around the circle of experiential learning.
Children can always use ICT to advance knowledge and thus actively experiment on a regular basis, trying out new aspects to get an outcome or a result. So I strongly believe that the point on Kolb's learning cycle that states active experimentation is very apt and relatable to every single ICT experience a person may have. Children see the links in everyday programs. For instance, in Microsoft Office package, it is a consistent HCI which the user can use on a regular basis and thus consistently. Early links cemented together by the learner, such as file, can always be found in the top left-hand corner. And this... try and fucking do it. Children can always use ICT to advance knowledge and thus actively experiment on a regular basis, trying out new aspects to get an outcome or a result from a program. So I strongly believe that the point on Kolb's learning cycle that states active experimentation is very apt and relatable to every single ICT experience a person may have. Children see the links in everyday programs. For instance, in Microsoft Office, it is a consistent HCI which the children can use consistently every single day and know where things are located. Early links cemented together by the learner, such as file for instance, can always be located in the top left-hand corner, are the basis upon which concrete experience can be made. Concrete experience in ICT can only be achieved if the pupil has experience within that field. By consistently using generic brand programs, I believe children will build concrete experience and then knowledge on a certain area. Without reflection and correction, the ICT world would not be where it is today. Kolb states reflection and observation as one of the points on his learning cycle. This fits perfectly with the ICT. If pupils are trained to effectively look at work and critique it further by observing the pros and cons of that piece of work, they will produce a better standard of work in the end. They will also be beginning to look at the analysis of work in turn, and this would be a valuable skill to achieve at an early stage. The final point on Kolb's learning cycle is abstract conceptualization. Conceptualization means the act of creating something by thinking alone. A perfect example of this would be the use of SQL within a database project. Pupils will use their own thoughts and create queries using their own words whilst learning new skills, and this is why I believe all aspects can be implemented into ICT lessons and why I believe each point is directly relatable to some or all ICT topics. Kolb and his colleagues have undertaken extensive work using the Learning Styles Inventory to relate different subject disciplines to the quadrants of the learning cycle, and hence to different forms of knowledge, partly for reasons of space and also partly for reasons of copyright. In all, Kolb suggests that practitioners of creative disciplines such as the arts should be found in the divergent quadrant. Pure scientists and mathematicians are in the assimilative quadrant, whereas applied scientists and lawyers are in the convergent quadrant. Professionals like us, who have to operate more intuitively, such as teachers, are in the accommodative quadrant. There are also differences in the location of specialists within the more general disciplines. Kolb's theory links to the Rogers theory on experiential learning, which also has 4 similar principles around learning and teaching. These principles are: significant learning taking place within a subject matter is relevant to the personal interest of that student. Secondly, the learning which is threatening to the self, e.g. new attitudes and perspectives, are more easily assimilated when external threats are at a minimum. And thirdly, learning procedures faster when the threat to the self is low, leading on to the third, which self-initiated learning is the most lasting and persuasive. Furthermore, and more clearly, Kolb's theory also links to Piaget's theory of assimilation and accommodation, which states that assimilation and accommodation are the 2 complementary processes of adaptation described by Piaget himself, through which awareness of the outside world is internalized. Although one may predominate at any one time, e.g. take the lead, they are inseparable and exist in a dialectual relationship. The terms are also used to describe forms of knowledge in Kolb's theory of elaboration and in the cycle that you have seen throughout this presentation.